Well, hey, and welcome to another episode of Dustino, coming at you again today with yet another video and yet another album review video. I feel like I've really been putting this on the back burner again. It seems like I took forever to get them started in general, and now it seems like there's been a lot going on, so it's just been a lot of other news and stuff, and just other things happening, but I want to get the album reviews going again, and I've been trying to do the Beatles in order. And have done Please Please Me and With the Beatles, and I'm going to include the US albums in this, and I'm doing them in order of when they were released. So up next we've got Introducing the Beatles, which is basically Please Please Me, which we'll kind of go through. And I did adjust my Please Please Me score based on reviewing this one too. So anyways, let's see more of that after the intro. Yeah, we're reviewing this one here, Introducing the Beatles. But anyways, this is my copy of it that I got, and I think it's a genuine copy. Everybody's told me it looks like it is, so I'm hoping it is. I didn't pay a lot for it. I was kind of surprised there was a second one there. I think that's the biggest giveaway there, isn't it? I think at least my record's real. I don't know about the cover here, but I don't know. That's my opinion. Everybody else tells me the cover looks legit too, but we'll see. Like it matters, I guess, at this point. I don't know. But anyways, we're here to review the album, not discuss if mine's a genuine article or not. I do have these I know aren't genuine articles. Speaking of, I do have these bootlegs, really nicely done bootlegs. Even the disc are great on these. I've really enjoyed these. I've got they're all version 2s, I've discovered, and we are going to discuss that. Yeah, this is version 2, and these are version 2s. I've got two versions of this because I also got a stereo version, and yeah, they're all version 2s. So I don't have a version 1 copy, but there's good ways to make a version 1 copy happen, which is just kind of download a playlist of Please Please Me and delete out the tracks that aren't there, right? So, however, there are some little differences on the Vee-Jay version here. But let's go through just a little kind of stats about the album here first before I get into the actual review. Of course, released on January 10th, 1964 on Vee-Jay Records. 10 days before Meet the Beatles by Capitol Records, the first Capitol album release in the US. And it's actually the second North American release after Beatlemania with the Beatles got released on November 25th of 1963 on Capitol Records in Canada. A little known fact too on that. So yes, not the first North American release. Yes, the first US release of an album by the Beatles, but not the first North American release. There are some other versions of this too. There's songs, pictures, and stories of the fabulous Beatles. That one, maybe I'll have the album cover there so you can see that, which just a different title and a different cover basically. And then there's also the Beatles versus the the Beatles versus the Four Seasons. I was about to say the Fab Four. They'd be versing themselves on that. I don't know. But the Four Seasons, which features Introducing the Beatles, and I mean no difference because I mean even the label still says Introducing the Beatles on both these ones I'm talking about. It was just kind of Vee-Jay's way to kind of skirt through the legalities of everything there, with them dragging their feet on releasing it for so long. And then, yeah, what they had to battle once Capitol decided to get into the game of the Beatlemania game. There's that version too, which includes Introducing the Beatles and the Four Seasons golden hits of the Four Seasons. And there are two versions of this, as I kind of alluded to as I was showing you my copies. All three of my copies, my LP here and my definitely bootleg CDs, are version 2s. Version 1 included Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You. It turns out they didn't have the rights to those with everything, so they had to take those out and put on. So basically, they took 2 tracks off of Please Please Me. That's the only difference on this, is the 2 tracks. And you get those 2 tracks taken off on version 1 and then added back in, but 2 more tracks taken off for version 2 is basically it. So the 2 tracks Love Me Do and P.S. I Love You got taken off of version 1 and replaced with Ask Me Why and Please Please Me, which would be the missing ones from version 1. We're going to go through that. I'm actually going to give you 2 album scores on this because there are kind of 2 albums with those 2 different versions. So I'm going to kind of go through that. And believe it or not, there is a slight difference on that, just because of one little factor on that I found out. So, but yeah, we do got a slight difference on the score between the 2 versions. And I kind of suspected that there might be. Because taking out Love Me Do, very signature Beatles song, so is Please Please Me, and, you know, Ask Me Why and P.S. I Love You are also great ones too, but I don't think those ones are going to, but yeah, you'll see as the scoring comes down though. But let's just go through a little more thing here on this. Of course, there are some cover variants on this. The only thing really, the mono and the stereo, you get this little strip here if you got a stereo version above this. Otherwise, the mono is more of a full bleed image, which is kind of cool because that was kind of the first Beatles full bleed image album cover, which they were always fighting for. So really kind of cool on that. And then there is a add back version. This one is the kind of the standard with the track listing. I'll pull my LP out though so we can see that, and then we'll talk. I'll put it here hopefully. The add back version, which is another version of that, and then there's also a blank back version, and then the track listing back, which this one is. So and the blank back is just as it says, it's just plain white back. The original white album just on the one half though, I guess. So other little facts about it: it was only available officially on LP, so that does really factor into the Dustino Score, because the Dustino Score is strongly on the physical media, as I'm pushing physical media. Not that I'm ignoring streaming, because that does factor in a little with that what's available out there. This also is not streaming. However, like I said, you can just create a playlist of Please Please Me and subtract out whichever version you want to listen to, subtract out those songs. So I guess kind of it's available streaming, but you don't get the genuine opening on that, which we'll go through when I go through the ranking here. Let's see, there are loads and loads of bootlegs on this. As you can see, I'm questioning if mine's even real. And I've got the CD versions there, which are definitely bootlegs because it was never released on CD. So yeah, you got loads and loads and loads of bootlegs of this, and I would think most Beatles collectors have got at least a bootleg of this in their collection. So yeah, there's that on that. So watch out if you are trying to find the genuine article. More than likely you're not going to find it. The day I bought this one, there were 2 at my record shop, and the one was clearly a bootleg. You could clearly see the front cover here, and even once I pulled out the record and looked at it, it definitely, you know, was kind of missing the telltale things here with the, you know, title was below the spindle hole there, not, you know, right below the the logo there. That's kind of one of the big telltale things. So this one to me appeared very genuine, and believe it or not, I think this was $20 at the shop I bought it at, and the one that was very clearly a bootleg was $25. So go figure on that. I think they were both stereo copies too, if I remember correct. That one was a mono and stereo, which I understand the stereo is much rarer than the mono. So that was kind of a shock that I found that, especially at $20. So because I saw at my other record shop, I saw what appeared to be a genuine mono one, and they were asking about $70 for it. So yeah, I mean, it's all over the board on this with this album. It was at number 2 on the Billboard album charts for 9 weeks, and it was just behind Meet the Beatles in that time, which was sitting at number 1 for 11 weeks. It sold 1.3 million copies, and as of, if I'm reading this correct, as of July 24th of 2014, it was certified gold and platinum. So I guess there's that on that. So anyways, let's get into the ranking on it here. And I did kind of, as I was going through it, discover I've been a little harsh on Please Please Me and With the Beatles. The only 2 Beatles albums I'm trying to be fair. This is part of why I didn't want to do album rankings, but I just feel like it's the next evolution of my channel. Is I feel like, you know, I'm very trying to stay very positive about everything and try to everything on that. Yes, I'm critical in certain ways, but I love the music. I really do. And it's hard for me to put a score on it. And I also, was like, well, I don't want to be so obvious and just, oh, I'm ranking the Beatles as all tens on everything. Well, perfect scores. And I think I was a little harsh on Please Please Me and With the Beatles. And I've said ever since I've started this, I feel like there's always going to be adjustments on everything I'm doing on this. And I did adjust the score on Please Please Me. And I'm sure once I do Meet the Beatles, which is a lot of With the Beatles, I'm going to adjust the score on that one also on With the Beatles as I'm going through that. So, but this is what I got. I'm going to do just kind of a rundown. And because I've already basically reviewed this album with Please Please Me, I'm pretty much just going with my notes and stuff from Please Please Me. However, I just listened to kind of both versions with my little playlist I created on Apple Music. Just to kind of get the flow and the vibe of how they kind of feel with that. So it kicks off with I Saw Her Standing There, and I've always got a kick out of the Vee-Jay version, cutting off the 1, 2, 3, and just going with 4. Why they thought that was what was going on, or why they couldn't at least get the 4 out of there. I think there was enough little beat between the 4 and the actual song starting, and they could have edited out the 4 at least and just kicked it off with that. I've always thought I Saw Her Standing There was like the perfect album opener and the career opener for that matter for the Beatles. And I'm going to get a little harsh on Meet the Beatles as I'm thinking about this here on this, because they bumped that to track 2. To me, that's such a perfect opener. And then the fact that they did end it in the end with The End, kind of, even though there was another album after that. But yeah, we all know that on that. But yeah, I've always just thought that was funny that 4 starts off this album. and then... yeah, it's just a really great opener, a very classic Beatles signature song I wrote here, and it's a 9.5 any day in my book. It's not quite perfect, but boy, is it right up there. So track 2, we got Misery. This one, I did give a little bump on my Please Please Me score, and that is going to reflect on Please Please Me. I'll go through that at the very end here. But yeah, it was a good follow-up to the opener, I said, and great harmonies and fun sing-along song. And we're bumping that up to an 8 on this one. Just more I'm hearing it, the more I'm like, yeah, I think I was a little harsh on this one. Number 3 is Anna, Go to Him. And the first cover on the album, I said I love the swinging chorus. I love how the chorus really gets, the verse is a little more subdued, and then you kind of get into that swinging chorus is what I refer to it as, a little more rocking chorus. There we go. And just a great John vocal. And Anna, Go to Him is getting a 7.5 on that. Moving on to Chains, which is the second cover on this. And this is kind of cool or interesting because we're getting 12 tracks on this version, not 14. And half of the album now is covers, which is really kind of interesting on that. But yeah, Chains is the next one. The second cover on it. And as I wrote, Georgie's first lead on this. So, and just a great Goff and King song. And it's going to get a 7. I think that one did get a little bump too from my original Please Please Me score. As did this one. So track 5 is Boys. Ringo is now singing this one. So the third cover in a row here on this. Bop, shoo, up, bop, bop, shoo, up. Why that's my best, to write out for a critical review of the song. But it's a real Ringo signature vocal lead there, and just he still plays this live for all the All-Star Band tours he does and everything, so it's really became quite a signature of his, and is just a fun song, and that's kind of Ringo on that. Every time Ringo's song comes on the album, it's just a fun moment there. And yeah, this one's getting a 7. I think that did get a bump up too. Number 6, we got Love Me Do on version 1. So this is where things will change, of course, on that. Because Love Me Do, I believe, kicks off side 2 of Please Please Me, where this is now ending side 1. So that's kind of a little difference there. Yeah, of course, Ask Me Why and Please Please Me got removed, which would have came before that on Please Please Me. And I wrote pretty much my notes from the Please Please Me review. Simple song, but fun. True Beatles signature, and that's getting an 8.5 on this. I think that did not change that score. I think that's still the same. Number 7, I've got P.S. I Love You. Well, I don't have it. That's what is on the album there. if you got the version 1 version. Paul song Through and Through was my review before, and I didn't say much more past that, except for I wrote down a little note that when you listen to it enough, it starts to sound like Paul singing B.S. I love you instead of P.S. Gotta be a Bravo S is what I'm hearing, or Bravo Sierra, and not Papa Sierra there. So I don't know why. That's always been, ever since I've been hearing that song. I've kind of heard that, just a little funny on that. Let me know in the comments if any of the rest of you hear BS I love you. Sometimes Bravo Sierra I love you, not Papa Sierra. Just let me know in the comments there. Just a fun little funny thing. I'm trying to make the review fun and funny here. But that's getting a 7 on this. I can't remember if I bumped that up or not. But moving on to track 8, and we got Baby It's You, another cover, the 4th cover now on this. He said a great John vocal, and just a favorite cover of mine. If you want to hear a little more on that, just go watch my Please Please Me review. I'll go a little more into Baby It's You, because I spent a lot of time on that Please Please Me review. But it's a song I've always really liked, and I like most versions of it that I hear, because there are a lot of cover versions of this song. One that I really enjoy is the version by Smith. Not the Smiths, just Smith is their name. And it's, that's a great cover. And I love the Beatles version. I love that version. I'm sure if I heard Burt Bacharach singing it, because he was one of the authors of the song, I'm sure I'd love that. It's just, to me, it's just a great song. Love that song. So, and that's getting an 8 on that, by the way. So a pretty strong cover score on that. Up next, we got track 9 is Do You Want to Know a Secret? As I learned on my little notepad here, but that's quite a title on there. Do you want to know a secret? Trying to fill in my line here. Yeah, that's my horrible writing there. But yeah, second by Georgie I wrote. Gorgeous George, I guess we could say. Some interesting reverb throughout it, I've noticed every time I've listened to it. For all the criticalness that you get with the Capitol versions with adding the reverb, the UK stuff did have some reverb here and there, but they use it a little more liberally and a little more pinpointed too, because it's not the whole song. It's just like little parts and, background aspects of it and stuff. So, but interesting. I've always thought it's interesting how they use the reverb throughout that, but I gave that one a 7 on that. Track 10 will be A Taste of Honey, and the 5th cover on this album here. And great Paul vocal I wrote, and just classic Beatles cover. It seems like that one's also always one of the classic Beatles covers that get mentioned there. And that one got a 7 on that. Then we got track 11, which is There's a Place. Of course, now this is the second to last track on the album, and that's how it is on Please Please Me Too. Great pickup. The album was kind of slumping at this point, and that was the same on Please Please Me and the same on Introducing the Beatles. And this is a great little pick-me-up before we get to the awesome ender. And let's see, great harmonies and fun to sing along with on that is what I wrote before too, and I'm still agreeing with that. And this is getting an 8. I think that one did get a little bump up too. And then, of course, the last track 12, we got Twist and Shout. And just John shredding those vocals at the end there. That last song that they recorded, that infamous day that they recorded the whole album in one day. And, well, pretty much the whole album one day. And just signature early Beatles song, and arguably their best cover and a great album closer, and that gets a 9.5, and that probably will be the strongest scored Beatles cover that we got. So kind of going through on this, I'll give you the Dustino score on version 1, and then we'll kind of go through the tracks on version 2. We'll go through them a little quicker because I've already covered the majority of it aside from 2. We'll go through that a little quicker, and then we'll get you the score, and I'll get you the score of the updated Please Please Me one at the very end here once we compare all of them there. But yeah, the version 1 score, the song totals is going to come out to a 7.8 out of 10. So of course I just added up the totals, divided it by the number of tracks, and that's what you get there out of 10. And that, believe it or not, came out to an exact score of the updated Please Please Me score, which had 14 tracks on it. So exact same score on that, the 7.8. The flow and the vibe is where we're going to kind of get some differences here. And I gave version 1 here a 9 out of 10 for the flow and the vibe. It does seem a little jarring. that switch with Love Me Do coming in there before Ask Me Why and Please Please Me. If I had only heard this version of it at that point, if I was a US album buyer and listening to it, Beatles fan, back in the early days there in early 1964, would it maybe bother me as much as knowing Please Please Me? Probably not. But I'm still giving it a 9 out of 10 because once you've heard Please Please Me and heard how that flows, and even the version 2 of this, which I think has a better little flow to it, as you're going to find out, that I'm giving it a 9. So it's still a really high score, but yeah, it was very noticeable to me when I was listening to it, this version. The packaging and the artwork, which is a lot to do with just, what you're getting here. I don't think this is the greatest picture. Of course, it is a reverse picture. The brown behind it, I had to wear a brown shirt here today, I think, for that, is kind of, it's real beige, real plain. And, the reversed image thing, too. They, of course, did use this image on an EP. One of their EPs, I'll have a cover of it here. We'll have held up there. And that is, the same image, and that one is the correct way. Great photo. We know who took it. It's a famous photo in the UK canon there. But yeah, it doesn't work for me quite as well. And this is where this one's really going to take a hit, is these next two scores on the Dustino Score. And that's going to get a 6 for the packaging and artwork on that. Because there isn't a lot of like liner notes or anything like that. There's no inner sleeves printed out. There's no other packages really, as the next score is going to kind of reveal, to give any other kind of thing with it. It's just the LP in the package here. And it's not a bad picture, but it's also not great. So, especially with that beige background. So of course, moving on to that next score on this, the package is available. So this kind of takes into effect, I've got a cassette deck, I've got an 8-track deck, I've got a reel-to-reel, so forth and so on. Well, this was only available on LP. Yes, there were those other versions, but it was basically this album and not really changed up. So it's getting a 4 because there really isn't anything else. There's no deluxe packages. Of course, Vee-Jay couldn't make it anymore after that. So the Dustino Score does really focus on physical media. That's how I intended it to be. And there's also no streaming version of it, unless, like I said, you make your own playlist there, taking out those tracks off of Please Please Me. So, yeah, it's getting a 4 out of that. So the total, and this is probably going to be my worst ranked album yet, is a 26.8 out of 40. And let's get on to the version 2, though, because I kind of want to go with that before I talk about Please Please Me's update here. So, of course, starting out with I Saw Her Standing There, which got a 9.5, Misery, which got an 8, Anna Go to Him, which got a 7.5, Chains, which got a 7, and Boys, track 5, which got a 7. Track 6 is Ask Me Why, so this is our first little change here. I said it's got a real middle of the album feel, and now is the closer of side 1 instead of that kind of that middle, of the album like it was before. And now it's the closer of the side. But that's getting a 6.5, and I think I did give that one just a little bump there. So a little bump in the score on that. So that is where Ask Me Why goes. And then we got Please Please Me, which is the other variation here. And that, I said, now it's a great B-side opener. Before I said it was a great A-side closer. Now it's a great B-side opener. I said I love the dynamic build of it at the end. I've always really loved that. And it does really got that Roy Orbison feel. You can see that influence on it. However, they sped it up, yes. But you can still kind of hear that influence in there. Interesting that George Martin kind of made them change it up. But you can still hear their original thoughts in there if you really are paying attention. And that's getting a 9. On this, and I think that's the same as what I gave it on Please Please Me. Then of course we move on to track 8, and we've already covered this one. Baby It's You got an 8. Track 9, Do You Want to Know a Secret, got a 7. Track 10, A Taste of Honey, got a 7 also. Track 11, There's a Place, got an 8. And Twist and Shout, closing it off with track 12, got a 9.5. So version 2, going through everything here, also got for song totals a 7.8. Believe it or not, even with all that changing, it also got a 7.8 out of 10. Flow and vibe bumped up a little bit. Like I said, this one just felt a little better to me. Where Please Please Me got a perfect 10 in this. Version 1 of Introducing the Beatles got a 9. Version 2 I'm going to give a 9.5 because it still doesn't quite got that feel of Please Please Me. And like I said, knowing if I took I've never heard Please Please Me factor out of there, maybe it might get a 10, but I don't know. This is tough to say when you're kind of reviewing an album like this. You know, knowing such a classic album otherwise, and comparing it to that, you know, taking out tracks out of it, it does kind of wreck that vibe on that. Packaging and artwork is going to be the same with the 6. Packages available is going to be the same with a 4 as the version 1 on that. Giving this one a total of 27.3 out of 40. So going through this now, so version 1 got a 26.8, version 2 got a 27.3, so about a 0.5 difference there in the score. The updated Please Please Me score is now sitting at a 34.8 with the update. I also updated on that, aside from the song totals. I was looking at it, and part of it is now that I've got the in mono vinyl box, and I got to actually see and hold and really study a vinyl pressing of it with the artwork and that. I did up my packaging artwork to an 8 out of 7, where previously it was a 7. So that also bumped up the score just a bit there too. Aside from the album score, which I think went from, or the song total, which went from a 7.4 to a 7.8. So that got almost a half of a point difference there, and then another full point for the packaging there. So yeah, so Please Please Me really got a little bump on this, and I think with the Beatles is also going to get a bump when I do Meet the Beatles and the Beatles' second album, because there's a lot of those tracks on the Beatles' second album. So I'm not going to reveal the With the Beatles bump until after I review Beatles' second album there, because there's a good chunk of the tracks that are on Beatles' second album also. But yeah, anyways, that's going to be my Introducing the Beatles Dustino score. So there we go. It didn't fare very well. I kind of figured the US albums weren't. I think Meet the Beatles and stuff are going to do a little better. I got a feeling where this, aside from Revolver, might get a big hit, but I don't know. We'll see how that goes when that gets to it. But yeah, it just, and a big thing of this is the fact there isn't any other versions of this available. And that's what's hurting the score on it. So it's not like I'm really tearing this album down. I'm not. This is a great album still, because it is basically Please Please Me. Just a little different artwork, a little different track listing. That's about it on that. And one little bit to the mix there with, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4 kicking it off, it's just 4 kicking it off. So, but anyways, that's where we stand on this. So I'm going to get signing out and wrapping up here. Before I do that, though, once again, I want to thank all my subscribers, and thanks to any new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And do hit the notification bell so you know when I got my next video coming out, like my next album review. Meet the Beatles should be coming up hopefully soon. I'm also going to get going with my album art cover ranking. I think we just had, last Saturday we had one, but we're going to keep that rolling. I got Paul McCartney coming up next, and I've got him broke down into about, I think, five segments I had to do with his catalog there, because I'm including everything, the classical albums, the Fireman albums, whatnot. It's all getting ranked in terms of the album covers there. It was just an easier way to break down his albums too, to kind of figure it out that way. So anyways, that'll be coming up soon too. And yeah, I don't know what else to say there on that, but yeah, just hit the notification bell so you know when I got new videos coming out. Also, please give the video a like. If you liked it, please me and give it a like. Even though we're talking about Introducing the Beatles, but Please Me is on one of the versions of Introducing the Beatles. But yeah, give it a like. It really does help out the video and the channel by you giving it a like. So please give it a like, and do leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on Introducing the Beatles. Let me know if I'm off on my ranking here or not. Let me know what yours would be if you were kind of ranking it the way that I'm doing here. Or, just let me know your thoughts on Introducing the Beatles in general, whether you rank it or not, whatever. Anyways, I think that should be some pretty good topics there. And yeah, let me know on the BS I love you if you also hear BS I love you every now and then. Sometimes I hear PS I love you, sometimes it's BS I love you. Bullshit, I don't love you. I don't know. Wow, what a way to end the video. Telling my, no, I love y'all. Y'all are great. So anybody that's watching to this point especially. So, ooh, let me know. That's a good comment. Did you hear me say that? All right. Anyways, peace and love to all of you. I'm Beetle Dustino, signing out.